What up, folks? Remember the Freddie Gray incident in Baltimore, Maryland last spring, in which a 25-year-old African American man ended up dead after being apprehended by police and being given a ride in the back of a police van? Well, there's a new development in that case. It turns out that in addition to the criminal charges that were filed against the several police officers involved in Freddie Gray's apprehension, the family of Freddie Gray also filed a $1 million lawsuit against the city of Baltimore. It turns out that the city has reached a settlement with Freddie Gray's family to the tune of $6.4 million, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's correct. Freddie Gray's family is going to be getting $6.4 million from the city of Baltimore based on their allegation of his wrongful death while in police custody. Unsurprisingly, as part of the settlement, the city doesn't actually admit the guilt of the officers involved, and as a criminal matter, that still has yet to be determined by the criminal courts. But I think over a period of 2 years, Freddie Gray's family is going to be paid $6.4 million by the city of Baltimore. I think the problem with this settlement is that the money is going to be coming out of the city of Baltimore's general budget. It's not going to be coming out of the Baltimore Police Department's specific budget. This is something I've actually done some research on. As I've mentioned in the past, a couple of years ago, I interned at the Cato Institute, the flagship libertarian think tank in the United States. And while I was there, I did a lot of work for Cato's Project on Criminal Justice. My main duty was to research cases of police misconduct that had led to actual civil actions, lawsuits in other words, across the United States. I had to look up news reports about these incidents online and report them to my supervisor so that they could be entered into Cato's database on the subject. Cato, from what I understand, is one of the few organizations, if not the only organization, that actually regularly keeps tabs on police misconduct incidents across the United States. And I'm frankly very proud to be able to say that I was involved in the work that they do in that area. One of the things I learned in the course of that research is that when these lawsuits are filed against police who are accused of committing acts of brutality or abuse, all too often they end in settlements. The money usually comes out of the municipalities' general budget. It usually doesn't come out of the police department's budget. If you're actually going to accomplish anything meaningful on a policy level through these lawsuits, any purpose beyond merely providing restitution, then you really need to hit police departments where it hurts the most, and that's in their budgets. When it comes to cases like the Freddie Gray case, where criminal charges have actually been filed against the accused police officers, we can rely, or hope to rely at least, on the criminal justice system to provide, punitive justice to the officers involved. If all goes according to plan, of course, and Lord knows that's not guaranteed. But when it comes to trying to bring about change in the way American law enforcement generally approaches these controversies, what's needed is an incentive, a change in the incentives that face police departments in general. Now, I'm not pretending that lawsuits are going to solve that problem by themselves. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that would be wishful thinking. However, I do think police misconduct lawsuits are one important tool in the general toolbox that we need to dip into in order to confront the problem of police abuse in America. Unfortunately, all too often, these lawsuits end in settlements in which the money comes out of the municipality's general budget, and so really the police department itself gets off scot-free. They don't feel any real impetus to change their policies, to change their training of police officers, to change the way that they usually respond to these accusations. There's no incentive for them to do things differently when they themselves aren't paying any financial price. One much needed area of reform is to change the way that these lawsuits are handled such that the money comes out of the police department's budgets. Now, again, it won't be a panacea. I wouldn't be surprised if law enforcement agencies can come up with ways to try to soften those blows. But at the same time, I think that it can make a useful contribution. Last winter, I posted a video talking about then Attorney General Eric Holder's plan to change federal policy with respect to civil asset forfeiture. Don't get me started. What the example of civil asset forfeiture shows is that police departments are very interested indeed in making a buck wherever they can. They don't just accept whatever budget they get from municipalities or, in some cases, state and federal governments based on what budget allocations the politicians cook up. Believe me, they'll use whatever means they can, including, most notably, civil asset forfeiture, in order to pad their budgets with more funding. That suggests that they do indeed care how much money they're able to line their departmental pockets with. That's why I think it's important for the money that is paid out in these settlements to come out of the police department's budgets. If that starts happening on a widespread enough basis across the whole country, there may actually be some hope that police departments will start to change their tune in a meaningful way. Hit them where it hurts them hardest, hit them where it'll affect them the most, in their pockets, and I'm sure that that measure, together with other aspects of criminal justice reform in the United States, will bring us closer to the goal of establishing the rightful relationship between the state and the citizen, especially between the state's enforcement agents, the people, the men and women with uniforms and guns from whom the government's power ultimately flows, and the ordinary people on whose behalf the government is supposed to be wielding that power.